Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone, and welcome. So I will talk about Leaseweb and being a CloudStack user for quite a long time. But I wanted to start with thanking John and Sunil for their talks and their content. It confirms basically that the strategy that we're taking is the right one, is on par with the trends that are happening now in the market. So that's really good to see. So I'm quite new to this level of speaking. So that will be also displayed with the fact that I miss the slide of how I introduce myself. So I will use this beautiful Leaseweb design to also introduce myself. So I'm Neven. I work for Leaseweb, and together with a group of engineers, we basically operate the CloudStack platforms for the organization. And this is deployment on a global scale. So I'll show a picture later on in my presentation. But we have CloudStack deployments all over the world. So I'll talk about three. Yes, this works. I'll talk about three topics that I chose, which eventually also tie into each other. A quick introduction about Leaseweb, who we are, what we do, mainly how we benefit CloudStack, and the European Cloud Campus, which is in short a initiative that we started off, backed by the European Union, to build our European sovereign cloud. So this ties also into Sunil's presentation a little bit. But we will have the same challenges and the same kind of vision. So starting off with Leaseweb. So Leaseweb is from its core started off. We started off in like '99 with selling, renting bare metals, connectivity, co-location, like a real hosting provider doing, selling dedicated servers. And gradually also jumped into the virtual environments, where I was just discussing it with a colleague of mine. We looked it up. We started in 2010. We found an email, an internal email stating to start looking into the orchestration tools. What's out there? What can we use? How can we start building our offering our virtual environment to our customers? So that was already in 2010, and in 2012 we actually deployed our very first CloudStack-based platform in production. So that was running in 2012 already. And this was at the time that it was, or just before it was donated to the Apache Foundation. So we've been using it for a very, very long time. And now since a year or so, really looking at the new trends, the trends that were discussed already about sovereign European cloud, a cloud where we can kind of more compete to the hyperscalers or be an alternative or an addition to the hyperscalers, something that's a little bit more cost effective. So we are starting to adopt the real public cloud model, and with that also Kubernetes, the managed Kubernetes variant. So these are our two main focus service offerings also that we are trying to adopt into the Leaseweb offering. So I'll talk a little bit more about these, but this is what I mentioned. So this is Leaseweb basically from a global perspective, where we see the white lines are the dedicated connections we have between all the data centers, or in orange all the data centers that we have globally or that we are situated in, where we have dedicated servers, maybe shared hosting, different services that we sell and offer worldwide. And the outlined ones in red, those are the places where we also have one or multiple CloudStack environments deployed. And what's interesting is nowadays we have both NFS-based CloudStack, so with storage over NFS, but also local storage platforms. And this is kind of new for us. We didn't do that before. I can tell it's working quite well for us. So it's a nice alternative to NFS, allowing us to sell higher performance disk VMs. And yeah, eventually the main goal is to further expand, obviously, the presence that we have, which is trying to get into all the different markets, but also being able to, based on a customer need, being able to maybe look into totally new markets. I wouldn't say India is maybe a market, but maybe it is. I don't know if you want to compete to Yota, but so this is what Leaseweb looks like at the moment. So I shared some stuff here already about Leaseweb and CloudStack. So again, we started in 2012, so we're, I would say, maybe an early adopter to CloudStack. We've been using it quite intensively for a long time. We've been expanding it globally. I think at some point we started seeing very specific customer needs, where we also started looking into, okay, how is CloudStack fitting into that? And that's kind of the turn point for us, where we started doing some own customizations. And within the community, I think it's quite known. At some point, we had over 1,000 commits and quite a delta with the community. So we kind of also lost the traction of keeping the versions up to date, keeping on track with the community. It created a lot of overhead, which also impacted our efforts towards the community. So at some point we decided, okay, the strategy should be, we need to collaborate together with the community, we need to work together, there's a lot of value for us and also for the community to work together to be quicker in development. So we started off this project to basically all our changes, see how we can merge that to the community and reduce that delta to a minimum, where we can donate a lot of stuff to the community from our side, but also get that traction from the community to be faster in updating CloudStack, getting new features, enabling our customers with the new stuff that's being developed on. So that was a couple of years back, I believe, we upgraded, we were running on 4.8 and upgraded to 4.16, so we had quite a jump in versions with a lot of changes, and still a lot of our customizations out there. And slowly, with each major version, try to reduce that gap. And now we are at basically two changes that have customer effect, and I'll show that in a bit. But that's quite an interesting journey it was for us to actually move from our own kind of customized CloudStack and now towards just running vanilla CloudStack, which is also very stable and for us a reliable backbone for all the different platforms. It has proven. And that's why we come to this slide, and this is basically everything we are doing at the moment with CloudStack as the underlying or fueling infrastructure component. So as I mentioned, we started off with VPS as our very first kind of virtualized environment towards our customers way back in 2012, where we use shared networks and security groups, just the standard virtual machines with firewalls. A couple of years later, we introduced this concept of elastic compute, which was actually private cloud at the time for us, where we did a little bit more on with CloudStack and actually exposed CloudStack to our customers. So now all of a sudden we had customers using the CloudStack API and also getting access to the CloudStack dashboard. So they would get their own domain with their resources, the network resources, IP addresses, and compute. So we call them resource pools. And we would sell this as just your own private cloud. This brought a lot of flexibility in terms of customers being able to create their own service offerings, their own sizing of VMs. There was, for them, a lot of flexibility to kind of orchestrate their own infrastructure. So those were the two main products we were running with on top of CloudStack. And nowadays, as I mentioned, we expand to public cloud and managed Kubernetes. So these are additional offerings which aim to actually address the real scalability, the real on-demand needs that we see in the latest trends of our customers. Public cloud being the main fueler for our customers to really be able to scale, but also use other products of Leaseweb through our private network. So now it would be much easier to combine, like if you have already dedicated servers or you have some object storage, to combine that with the CloudStack public cloud environment. But we use CloudStack also for a bit more. So not so long ago, so as Leaseweb we have also these web hosting, email hosting, kind of the smaller part of, the smaller solutions for very small businesses, where we just offer web hosting to them. And those used to be hosted also on all our dedicated servers. And it was quite difficult for them to scale out. So at some point we came to the conclusion we need something for them to better scale. And now we managed together with the shared hosting teams to migrate everything also to CloudStack. So they are now also on top of the CloudStack infrastructure. And lastly, we have a bunch of internal teams, our product engineering teams, that use CloudStack also for their own applications, for development, for testing, and even the Leaseweb production environments are running on top of CloudStack. So we have our Leaseweb website, the commerce part, our customer portal, which is basically the point of presence for all our customers to interact with Leaseweb. So as you see, we have quite some offerings already within the Leaseweb product space that are fueled by CloudStack. So we're very proud and very committed to CloudStack, and also this whole cloud concept. And then a little interesting one we have. So as I mentioned, the customization. So we used to have a huge amount of changes. It was very difficult to maintain for us, mainly to do upgrades, to get. So we used to backport a lot of the patches from the community into our current fork. But we managed to narrow that down. And I just wanted to highlight these two. I've been highlighting them for a while, mainly to Gilles. the two, basically the first one is the one that's the most difficult, because it's nowadays I believe it's a single PR, but it's so big it's not even testable at the moment. So we're looking for ways to split it up, maybe even per configuration being able to set. But what it basically does is it allows our customers to manage the HA proxy. So they would deploy a virtual router with HA proxy as a front end. And by default, you cannot manage these values of that virtual router. And through this configuration, this interface that we also have and also built in the latest UI, as a customer now, you can change the timeout, the connection timeout settings, or set HTTP keep alive. You can manage the different aspects through that interface. So those are the two last things we have. So we have also the overriding the virtual service offering, which is not a huge one. It is already possible to override a service offering for the virtual router, but you can only do it on a domain level or an account level, so for the whole account. And we had customers with specific networks where we needed different service offerings, mainly not to consume for all the other networks the same amount of resources, subtracting that from their accounts. So we made this change to be able to also configure the service offering per network, which is a small change, and I think it's something small we can also have in the community version added soon. So besides these two, For the rest, we're running vanilla CloudStack, and even on our latest public cloud platforms, we are running the vanilla CloudStack version. So we're quite proud of reaching this moment, and also being able from now on to actually work with the community on the newer stuff and get more traction on new features. Then I have an additional slide also on how we use CloudStack. I just pointed out some of the things that we do to give you an idea of how we use CloudStack, but also some sidecars that we have. So there is this concept of a DRS. I believe it's also introduced in 4.19 already by the community. But we used to have, or we still have our own DRS implementation, which is a sidecar outside of CloudStack. And what it will do, it will consume all the usage data from, we use Prometheus in the backend, tracking the load of all the VMs and looking at the load of the hypervisors as well. And it would try to, based on standard deviation, try to separate or relocate the VMs accordingly to manage load. And that's something we still use, we still run. But what we do see lately is CPU load is very fluctuating. So we are looking at this specific concept, but how we can further improve it to maximize also all the hardware that we basically have. Also in terms of efficiency, being able to actually maximize all the compute power that we have for the VMs. Another thing that we added not so very long ago is basically a fully automated pipeline for template management. So we use Packer, we have our template build server. We would do all these steps manually to build the templates, test them, deploy them on CloudStack, check them out. Is everything working? Are all the cloud init features working? Can you reset the password? Can you set an SSH key? Does the OS install and does it boot? All those things. And at some point we came to the conclusion is that this takes quite some effort from the team. So we looked at how can we build a process where we don't have to look at it anymore and make it kind of an unattended thing for us. So we ended up with this automated template management process. It's in Jenkins. It's a pipeline where it builds all the templates. It would run a bunch of tests, basically do all the stuff that we did manually, also with testing all the cloud init features, if the template is working correctly, and then it would also deploy it on all these different platforms that we have. And nowadays it's kind of fine-tuned already, where we are confident we can do this on a monthly basis. So what we now do is we have a monthly fresh templates that we deploy on all the platforms with all the latest OS updates and changes. And then CPU generations, vintages. So with before public cloud, we would always just deploy VMs wherever. We had platforms, we had the differentiation in hypervisors with different CPU types. And with public cloud, we decided we need to, also in order to kind of be more competitive against hyperscalers, being able to sell different vintages for different type of workloads. Something you would see in AWS, where you can select a flavor, where you can actually see what type of CPU you are buying or you're running on. So we introduced this concept, and this ties into the host tags as well, because we combine that in how we deploy. So each hypervisor will be tagged with a type of vintage, and according to the service offering, it will know the VM, where to deploy it, on which host, so which CPU it will get. It also helps us to separate Linux from Windows machines. So there's a couple of things that we solve with host tags. But this concept of vintages, of CPU generations, is something new for us. But where we try to create this offering which kind of aligns with what an AWS has with the different vintages, and also allows us to differentiate in pricing, basically. So, as I mentioned, in our core, we are a dedicated server hosting provider, so we have a bunch of dedicated servers, but also older machines. And now this concept also allows us to actually benefit on that, to sell those like cheaper CPUs to our cloud customers as well, where they choose for maybe an older CPU type for for a lower cost, and still be able to run all the public cloud functionality that we offer. And they can also, using our private network, connect everything to different platforms and actually benefit from a much more cost-effective cloud. And then the European Cloud Campus, as I mentioned already also. This is also my last slide. And I wanted to touch upon this because this basically ties everything together. So as Leaseweb, we came with this initiative to basically start working on a cloud that is under the European flag, being able to actually, as I mentioned already, kind of compete with hyperscalers, but not compete, but maybe be in addition to hyperscalers. We see these trends where a lot of enterprises are looking for a more cost-effective and less vendor-locked-in solutions. So at some point, the European Union started off this huge funding under the IPSAI. It's called the IPSAI project, which stands for Important Project of the Common European Union. So we basically managed to lock in some of the funding with our initiative, which is the European Cloud Campus. And the nice thing of this is that we already started building public cloud. We already had this strategy and concept in mind. So for us, it was basically just an extension to what we started doing, enabling us to further fuel this project and being able to much quicker grow it. So what the idea behind it is, as I mentioned, it needs to be a European sovereign cloud. That's important for us because we want to protect our European companies, but being able for them to also do all their development work on the European cloud, which should be an alternative to all the big hyperscalers. And lastly, not being vendor locked in. So this was a very important requirement for that. This project basically brings up Leaseweb and CloudStack together in one new trend that we're working on, and this will be launched this is launched under Leaseweb public cloud, and we will try to basically grow this as much as possible, obviously, with the help of the community as well. So by going to the community version, running CloudStack vanilla, this will help us speed up that project as well. So that's basically all I wanted to say about this. And that's also my last slide. So